book of Matthew, chapter 9, and looking at the miracles of Christ. Today will be the 34th and 35th message upon the miracles of Christ. We'll begin reading with verse 27. Read down through verse 34. When Jesus departed thence, two blind men followed him, crying and saying, Thou Son of David, have mercy on us. And when he, Jesus, was come into the house, the blind men came to him. And Jesus saith unto them, Believe ye that I am able to do this? They say unto him, Yea, Lord. Then toucheth he their eyes, saying, According to your faith be it unto you. And their eyes were opened. And Jesus straitly charged them, saying, See that no man know it. But they, when they were departed, spread abroad his fame in all that country. And as they went out, behold, they brought to him a dumb man possessed with a devil. And when the devil was cast out, the dumb spake, and the multitudes marveled, saying it was never so seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, He cast out devils through the prince of the devils. We have here two miracles that we will address together. Again, what's recorded here takes place in the area of Capernaum. That's very significant because it was in this area that Jesus had previously brought a nobleman's son from the brink of death. He had taught in the synagogue to the absolute amazement of the people. In that same synagogue, he cast out a demon from a demoniac. And in the house of Simon and Andrew, he healed Peter's mother-in-law. And then he healed a multitude gathered at that house. He would leave Capernaum for a very short while, a few days. And then he returned. And he healed a man who was sick of the palsy. And he also healed a man with a withered hand. And he healed a centurion's servant. And he raised a widow's son to life. All taking place in this area of Capernaum. He would leave Capernaum again, go to Gadara by way of the Sea of Galilee. And now he's back. He's back again. And the crowd, having seen what Jesus has done and of hearing of what he had done, the crowd gathers around him. There's no doubt a buzz of excitement in the air. And Jairus, one of the rulers of the synagogue, comes and falls down before Jesus, pleading with the Lord to come to his house and heal his sick and dying 12-year-old daughter. And as Jesus and the multitude of people make their way to the house of Jairus, as we saw last week, there's a woman with a flow of blood who interrupts everything. And Jesus heals her, saves her life. the 12-year-old daughter of Jairus dies. But Jesus in this multitude continues to the house of Jairus. And there Jesus would restore her to life. Following the raising of the daughter of Jairus, word, of course, spread very quickly what Jesus had done. We see in Matthew 9, verse 26, and the fame thereof went abroad into all the land. So Jesus would leave the house of Jairus, which is where we began our reading today, verse 27. And when Jesus departed thence, that is the house of Jairus. So Jesus has now left the house of Jairus. And in all probability, at this time there were still the multitude who had followed him to the house. They were still following him. But in addition to that, you would also now have the people who were at the house of Jairus lamenting the death of the daughter of Jairus. So the crowd has grown. And as you look at the crowd, again, there's a buzz of excitement. It's now at a feverish pitch. What's he going to do next? And we see the crowd around Jesus. But our attention is not on the crowd. Our attention is drawn to two blind men. Just like before our attention was drawn to Jairus, then our attention was drawn to the woman with the incessant flow of blood. So our attention is drawn to two blind men. And of all the people in that crowd, Matthew mentions two blind men. And we see the account in verses 27 through 31. So I want to look at the healing of these two blind men. Our subject is Jesus' power over the realm of darkness. It's recorded in verse 27. Two blind men followed him. That's what the whole multitude were doing. We see these individuals. They are part of the crowd that is following Jesus. Due to their blindness, this would not be an easy task. The others could see where they're walking. These men are blind. So this is no easy task. But there they are. And I picture them trying to keep up with the crowd as the crowd moves along with Jesus. Their condition was blindness. That's their condition. Two blind men. The word blind, of course, is descriptive of their condition. It's descriptive of their situation, of their circumstance. It is two men who know and feel the reality of their condition, blind. They know they're blind. They can feel their blindness. Two men with sightless eyes. Two men living in darkness. Their lives are defined by darkness. Due to their blindness, their condition, there were many difficulties in their lives. Their difficulties did not create their blindness created their difficulties. Due to their blindness, there no doubt was a degree of confusion in their lives. Due to their blindness, they were subject to greater danger, subject to greater risk than others. And they were more vulnerable than those who could see. All due to their blindness. Due to their blindness, I'm sure they feared things that others didn't. I'm sure they felt apprehensive about things that others perhaps didn't. There was some instability in their lives due to their blindness. There was some insecurity in their lives due to their blindness. Due to their blindness, their lives were somewhat confined. Their lives were limited. Their blindness probably brought some agitation to their lives. No doubt it brought some deficiencies into their lives. It impaired their lives, causing them to miss many opportunities, causing them to miss what most would consider normal experiences of life. They could not see the faces of the ones they loved. They could not see the beauties of God's creation. Everything was dark. Every day they awoke to darkness. Every day they went through the day in darkness. All because of their condition. Blind. Blind. Two blind men. And the powers and the intelligence and the skills and the resources of man could not fix and could not rectify their blindness. Blindness, of course, is a terrible handicap. And the self-righteous spiritual leaders of Christ's day added to their problem by asserting that those who were physically disabled were being punished by God, which of course would only add to their ministry or misery. And there they are, two blind men. Two blind men. Their lives are marked and defined by darkness. Then notice the cry of these two men. As they followed Jesus, the one who has worked so many miracles in that area, Matthew says of them, verse 27, that they were crying and saying. That's two different things, by the way. Crying and saying. The word crying speaks of the volume of what they were saying. It's indicative of the fact that they were not ashamed to express their need. The word crying is also descriptive of the tone of what they were saying. What they are saying is in a tone of passion, energy, fervor, and it's all motivated by a deep sense of need, by a sense of desperation and urgency. Their crying also speaks of the form of what they were saying. It was a form of pleading and begging. What they're saying is in the form of a plea. It's indicative of the fact that they saw themselves as dependents. It's indicative of the fact that they were greatly burdened concerning their need. And they were very desirous of having their need fulfilled. And they believed that the one they were crying to was able to fix their condition. Their plea was, this is what they were saying: have mercy on us. That was their plea. That speaks of their spirit and their attitude. Mercy, of course, is God withholding from us what we deserve at the hand of God. It is God's compassion to the wretched and hell deserving. It is God holding back the wrath that we deserve. And they say, have mercy on us. That very statement declares that they knew that they were deserving of God's wrath. They knew that. These two men feel in an overwhelming way their sinfulness, their guilt, their shame. And they feel deeply their unworthiness of God's favor. It tells us that they're humble, that they know that they have no merit, only demerit. And they know that they cannot earn favor from God. And their only plea is mercy. The basis of their plea is mercy. They see no other option. They realize that outside of His mercy, there's no hope. They know that. They see no other alternative. These two blind men have never seen Christ. They've never seen Christ perform a single miracle. No doubt they had heard of His healing activities in and around Capernaum. They had heard of Him exercising His ability and authority, bringing about healing and restoration and transformation. They had heard of Him as the conqueror of death and as the giver of life. They have heard of Him as the miracle worker and the provider of needs. And no doubt they thought to themselves, though we're unworthy of such healing, this man, He's kind, He's compassionate toward the unworthy. And He's certainly able to take away our blindness, causing us to see. And realizing and feeling their blindness, believing that He is absolutely, and believing and absolutely certain that He is greater than their blindness, and that He could fix them. And they wholeheartedly wanting to be set free from their darkness, they plead, have mercy on us. But notice also, they believe something about His person. They believe He's the promised Messiah. They address Him as, Thou Son of David. Thou Son of David. I'm sure they heard His name, Jesus. But they address Him as Thou Son of David. A title that connects Jesus to the Old Testament message. The Old Testament promise of a coming Messiah. In the Old Testament, a period of nearly 4,000 years, there's this repeated promise of one that would be sent. And all through the Old Testament, the prophets continually point to this one that would be sent of God. The theme of the Old Testament is a Christ that would come. And all through the Old Testament, page after page, there are types, there are metaphors, similitudes illustrating and painting a picture of this one who would come. This one who would come. The animal skins that God used to cover the nakedness of Adam and Eve spoke of this one. The ark that Noah built spoke of this one. The ladder reaching up to heaven spoke of this one. The rock in the wilderness, the manna coming down from heaven, the sacrifices, the offerings, as you walk through the tabernacle, everything's pointing to this one that would be sent. You look at Joseph. His whole life points to this one who would be sent. You look at the blood-sprinkled altars and the burning but unconsumed bush, the Passover lamb. They all speak of a Christ that would come. And these two blind men, they could not read the Old Testament scriptures. They couldn't see. They could hear others read them. Perhaps people read them directly to them. The point is, they believed that this Jesus was the Son of David. They believed that Jesus was the God-sent Savior, the God-sent ruler and King. They believed that He was the promised Messiah of the Old Testament. They believed that Jesus was the one who would stand between a holy God and a sinful people. They believed, and they are knowing, and they are feeling their condition of blindness and their need of sight, and believing that this Jesus is the coming one, the God-sent rescuer, the God-sent redeemer, the God-sent reconciler and Savior. They believe that He's God's provision. God's sacrifice for sinners, God's remedy for the greatest plague of man. They believe. And there they are. With this multitude of people following Jesus and knowing and feeling their condition, knowing and feeling their need, with passion and energy and perseverance, they cry out, "Thou Son of David, have mercy on us." Their hearts are consumed. What are their hearts consumed with? Thou Son of David. Thou Son of David. They can't see Him, but their hearts are consumed with Him. Thou Son of David, have mercy on us. What these knew of themselves and what they believed concerning Him compelled them to follow Him, crying out, "Thou Son of David, have mercy on us." Then we see there's the arrival at a house. Notice verse 28. And when He was come into the house. Notice, it's not when they. There's a multitude of people around Jesus. And when He was come into the house. Well, that raises a question. What house? What house? Well, I'll give you the answer. We're not told. We're not told. Perhaps, very probable, the house of Simon and Andrew. He was in that house before. He's been in that house a few times now. But it really doesn't matter because He doesn't tell us. So there's no sense in trying to figure it out. But He's in a house. And then we're told that these two blind men came to Him. If He's in the house, they are too. The multitude, they can't all fit in that house. But these two blind men pursued Jesus, believing that He was the promised Redeemer, that He was able to heal their blindness. And they, with great persistence, pursued Him. And now they can reach Him because this multitude isn't pressing up against Him. And they follow Him into the house. And I believe they're still crying out, "Thou Son of David, have mercy on us." It appears that all the way to the house, Christ did not give heed to their cries. But they continued to cry out, "Thou Son of David, have mercy on us." There didn't appear to be any indication that Jesus even heard them. We know He did. But that didn't stop them. Because of what they believed concerning Him and what they knew and felt concerning themselves. "Thou Son of David, have mercy upon us." And upon arriving at the house, They followed Jesus into the house. The blind men came to him. What conversation may have taken place in that house is not recorded. But it's obvious that they were pleading with Jesus on the basis of His mercy that they would be healed of their blindness. That's their condition, blindness. That He would take their blindness away. The basis of that appeal is mercy. Though these two men could not see Jesus with their eyes, they have heard of Him, and they believed who He was, and they believed what He could do. Jesus speaks unto them. Verse 28. And Jesus said unto them. Jesus said unto them. Other people are in the house, disciples. But Jesus said unto them, Believe ye that I am able to do this? He's giving them opportunity to affirm their faith in Him. And then notice what Jesus did, verse 29. Then, there's an order here. He spoke unto them, then touched He their eyes. Why didn't He touch their feet? Why didn't He touch their hands? Why didn't He touch their head? Because the eye was the source of the problem. They were blind. Again, Jesus always deals with the root of the matter. He went to the source of the problem. The hands of Jesus are now upon their eyes. Those are gracious, merciful, loving hands, powerful, tender hands, sufficient hands, ministering, healing, cleansing, restoring hands upon their eyes, transforming, miraculous working hands. There's comfort in those hands. Imagine what those two blind men felt. There's Jesus' hands on their eyes. There's life in those hands. Then touched He their eyes. The result, verse 30, again, there's an order here. And their eyes were opened. And I believe that's what they were pleading for Jesus to open their eyes on the basis of His mercy. And their eyes were opened. It is, touched He their eyes, and their eyes were opened. Oh, what Jesus can do. They have, by the touch of Jesus, gone from darkness to sight. The darkness is gone. It's been taken away. And in its place, there's light. There's beautiful color. Their eyes were opened. The deficiency of blindness is gone by the touch of His hand. The misery of blindness is gone by the touch of His hand. The limitations of their blindness gone by the touch of His hand. The confusion of blindness gone by the touch of His hand. The difficulties, the dangers of their blindness gone by the touch of His hands. You see, all the problems that were caused by their condition, Jesus heals their condition, and their problems are gone. That's how Jesus works. Man deals with the symptoms, does nothing with the condition, but Jesus gets to the root of the problem. And that solves all the other issues. Touched He their eyes, and their eyes were opened. 2 blind men given sight by the touch of His hand. Oh, what marvels Jesus can do. And if we go back to Matthew 9, verses 32 and through 35, we have another healing. Verse 32, as they went out, that is, following the healing of the 2 blind men, the blind men leave the house, and there is a very brief record of Jesus casting out a demon from a mute man. The miracle falls in the context of Jesus restoring sight to these 2 blind men, thus delivering them from a life of darkness. Again, the record of this miracle is very brief. But that does not diminish its significance. And that is indicated by the fact of how Matthew introduces the account. Verse 32. Behold! Behold! Signifying something extraordinary. He's drawing our attention to something that shows the significance of what He's about to present. The significance is also seen in the response of the people. Verse 33, and the multitudes marveled, saying it was never done. Was never so seen in Israel. Never seen anything like this. So yes, the account is very brief. It's obviously very significant. The subject of the miracle, verse 32, they brought to Him a dumb man possessed with a devil. The words "a dumb man" are indicative of the fact that he could not speak. It has nothing to do with the man's intellect. Nothing. It's a picture of what society thought. he was mute. He was silent. He could not speak. So people made the assumption he's dumb. He doesn't know anything. He could not speak. He could not make a plea like the blind men did. The reason, again, the root problem, the reason or the cause of his inability to speak was that he was possessed with a devil. He was possessed with a demon. This was his root problem. He was under the control. He was under the dominion, under the influence of Satan. That's his root problem. Verse 33. And when, there it is again, order. When, not before. When the devil was cast out. That's Christ dealing with the root problem again. When. That's a word that marks time. It's a word that marks order. So there's the man possessed with a devil. But when the devil was cast out, at the moment that the devil was cast out, the dumb spake. He didn't speak before then. When the devil was cast out. At that moment, this man who lived in silence spoke. Oh, what Jesus can do. Again, the miracle falls into the context of Jesus restoring the sight of these two blind men. In restoring their sight, He delivered them from a life of darkness. These two miracles reveal the power and authority of Christ in restoring lives lived in darkness, but also the power and authority of Christ over the prince of darkness. The power and authority of Christ is greater and more than the spiritual darkness that controls lives. But it goes further than that. It's greater than Satan and all his hosts. He cast out the prince of darkness. Again, oh, what Jesus can do. The world is dark, filled with ignorance, filled with error, filled with sin, wretchedness. And we don't ignore such. But it must not be our focus either. The one who must, what our focus needs to be is the one who has authority over the darkness. And I'm afraid that's a grave error that most of God's people fall into. They focus upon the problem rather than the solution. Our focus needs to be Him. He has authority. He has power. Again, we do not ignore. We don't pretend that the darkness isn't there. It's there. But you will not do yourself any good spiritually by focusing on the darkness. their spiritual health in focusing upon the one who has power and authority over the darkness. Brother Ben, if you'll come and